right now. The harder you chase money, the faster it's running away from you, and you don't even realize it. Stop checking your bank account every 5 minutes. Seriously, stop it. Because the harsh, uncomfortable truth is that the more you obsess over every single dollar, the faster it seems to run away from you. We've all been there, laying in bed at 2 a.m., scrolling through portfolio balances, calculating exactly how much we need for that freedom number, and feeling that tightening in our chest when the numbers don't move fast enough. You think that by caring more, you're working harder. You think that by fueling your ambition with anxiety, you're somehow manifesting success. But what if I told you that your desperation is actually your biggest financial liability? In the world of high-stakes wealth, there is a psychological law that most people ignore until it's too late. Money moves toward those who don't need it and stays away from those who are suffocating it with their neediness. This isn't some woo-woo spiritual concept. It is the fundamental alpha insight of the world's most successful investors and entrepreneurs. If you want to get rich, you have to learn how to stop caring. We are currently trapped in what I call the financial anxiety loop. It's a vicious cycle where your lack of money creates stress. That stress creates a scarcity mindset, and that scarcity mindset leads to desperate, short-sighted decisions that keep you poor. When you operate from a place of, I need this to work or I'm ruined, you are effectively playing the game of life with a blindfold on. You're making moves based on fear rather than logic. Think about the last time you made a truly great decision. Was it when you were panicked, sweating, and checking your phone every 30 seconds? Or was it when you felt calm, detached, and completely in control? The market, the economy, and even your boss can smell desperation from a mile away. When you are desperate, you settle for less. You take the first mediocre job offer because you're scared. You sell your stocks the second they dip because you can't handle the loss of paper money. You become a slave to emotional volatility. And in the U.S. market, volatility is the enemy of compounding wealth. This is where we have to shift from a scarcity mindset to a state of high leverage power. High leverage power is the ability to walk away from the table. It is the psychological edge of being fine, regardless of the immediate outcome. Most people think not caring means being lazy or having zero ambition. That couldn't be further from the truth. Not caring means you care so much about the quality of your work and the integrity of your process that you refuse to let the outcome dictate your happiness. It's about detaching your self-worth from your net worth. When your bank account balance determines whether you have a good day or a bad day, you have already lost the game. You've handed over the keys to your emotional kingdom to a fluctuating digital number. To break this loop, you have to realize that wealth isn't built in the moments of celebration. It's built in the moments of absolute boredom and detachment, where you stick to the plan while everyone else is losing their minds. The secret that the top 1% won't tell you is that they stopped chasing a long time ago. They positioned themselves. They built systems. They waited. Chasing is for people who believe that wealth is something external that they have to hunt down and kill. Positioning is for people who understand that wealth is a byproduct of being. the most rational person in the room. When you stop caring about the overnight win or the moonshot crypto play, you suddenly gain the clarity to see the real opportunities that everyone else is too distracted to notice. You stop being a gambler and start being an architect. This transition requires you to look your financial fears in the face and realize that your anxiety isn't a tool, it's a weight. It's holding you back from the very thing you cling to. Want. If you want to attract massive wealth, you have to become the kind of person who can handle it without breaking a sweat. You have to become outcome independent. This is the foundation of everything we are going to talk about next. How to apply strategic stoicism to your wallet so you can finally stop chasing and start attracting. To master the art of not caring, you have to embrace what I call strategic stoicism. In the United States, we are conditioned to believe that more emotion equals more passion, and therefore more success. But in the world of cold, hard capital, emotion is a tax. It's a literal drain on your bank account every time you make a decision based on how you feel rather than what the data says. You are paying an emotional surcharge. Strategic Stoicism is the practice of removing that noise. It is the realization that the law of detachment is actually a superpower. It's about being all in on the effort, but all out on the expectation. When you detach from the outcome, you don't become passive, you become dangerous. You become the person who can stay rational while the rest of the market is screaming in terror. You become the person who can hold a position for 10 years while everyone else is day trading their way to a zero balance. This isn't about being a robot. It's about being the most effective version of yourself. This leads us directly into the process-first framework. Most people are obsessed with the destination, the Lambo, the beach house, the retirement by 30. But the problem with destination obsession is that it makes the present moment feel like a prison. If you are only happy when you reach the $1 million mark, you are choosing to be miserable for the 99% of the journey it takes to get there. To get rich, you have to gamify the boring stuff. You have to start falling in love with the systems, the spreadsheets, the cold calls, and the compounding interest. When you gamify the process, the win happens every single day you stick to the plan. This creates a psychological feedback loop of success that isn't dependent on the stock market's closing price. You start to realize that financial freedom is just a series of boring, disciplined days stacked on top of each other. If you can master the day, the decade takes care of itself. Think about it this way. A professional athlete doesn't stare at the scoreboard while they are playing the game. If they did, they trip over their own feet. They focus on their breathing, their form, and their next move. The scoreboard is just a reflection of how well they executed the process. Your bank account is your scoreboard. If you spend all your time looking at the score, you're going to miss the play. Strategic Stoicism allows you to put your head down and execute with surgical precision because you've already accepted the worst-case scenario and realized you'd still be okay. This nothing-to-lose attitude is exactly what gives you the leverage to take the calculated risks that actually pay off. It allows you to quit that soul-sucking 9T05 because you've detached from the prestige of the title and realized that your time is worth more than a steady paycheck and a cubicle. by removing the emotional weight of needing to be rich. You actually clear the path to becoming wealthy. You stop making poverty-driven choices like taking a high-interest loan to buy a car you can't afford just to look successful. When you don't care about the appearance of wealth, you finally have the resources to build the reality of wealth. You start looking at money as a tool, not a security blanket. This shift in perspective changes everything. You stop being a victim of the economy and start being an operator within it. You realize that the reason you haven't hit your goals yet isn't because you aren't working hard enough. It's because you're working with too much friction. That friction is your attachment. In the final part, we're going to break down the daily practices that turn this philosophy into a literal money-making machine and show you how the chill leads directly to the bag. The compounding effect of the wealthy mindset now, we have to talk about the reality of the long game. Wealth in the U.S. isn't built in a sprint. It's built through the quiet, invisible power of long-term compounding. But here is the catch. Compounding only works if you stay out of its way. Most people interrupt the process because they get twitchy. They get impatient. They get attached to a specific timeline. When you practice the law of detachment daily, you are essentially giving your wealth permission to grow without your interference. It's like planting a seed and having the discipline to not dig it up every morning just to see if the roots are growing. This daily practice of detachment, checking your ego instead of your balance, is what separates the people who look rich from the people who actually are. You have to realize that your internal calm is a leading indicator. If your mind is a mess, your finances will eventually follow. But if you can cultivate a sense of abundance before the money arrives, you create a vacuum that the money has no choice but to fill. The final power reframe is simple but life-changing. Financial freedom isn't a destination you reach. It's a psychological state you start practicing today. If you can't be calm with $100 in your pocket, you will be absolutely terrified with $1 million. The stakes only get higher as the numbers get bigger. By choosing to not care about the superficial noise and the social pressure to keep up with the Joneses, you are reclaiming your most valuable asset, your focus. When you stop bleeding energy into what other people think or how fast the other guy is moving, you can pour 100% of that power into your own empire. You start to move with a different kind of energy, a relaxed intensity that people find magnetic. Clients want to work with you, investors want to back you, and opportunities find you because you don't smell like need. You smell like success. So, here is your challenge. Starting today, stop viewing money as your master and start viewing it as your employee. Employees work best when they have clear instructions and a calm manager, not a frantic boss who is constantly hovering and micromanaging. Let the process do the heavy lifting. Trust the systems you've built. Lean into the chill. Because at the end of the day, the bag doesn't go to the most stressed out person in the room. It goes to the one who stayed the coolest while everyone else was burning out. You don't need to care more. You need to execute better. Stop chasing the ghost of wealth and start becoming the version of yourself that wealth is naturally attracted to. Remember, in this game, the bag always follows the chill. Go out there Stick to your process and let the rest of the world worry about the noise. You've got a kingdom to build. The moment you stop chasing money is the exact moment it starts chasing you. So ask yourself, are you still running after it? Or are you finally ready to attract it?